So yesterday, I uploaded a video of the top 10 best decks of the upcoming format post-ban list. And of course, today I felt like I had to make another top 10 best deck video, but this time on the sleeper and more affordable decks of the format. Because yes, I do feel for my broke brothers and sisters out there. That includes me, by the way. I'm poor and I have no money. Oh, and if you're not spotting a specific deck in this video, it might be because it's too good for this one and had to be in my previous one. Or maybe just because I'm stupid and forgot about its existence. Anyways, before this video starts, please make sure you like and subscribe, etc. blah blah blah. Alright, now let's get right into it. Alright, in the number 10 position is Dinosaurs featuring the new Xeno support from Wild Survivors. I am 100% positive someone is gonna find a way to break this deck completely because it looks really good on paper. And you can actually get your engine started on turn 0 by destroying your babies using the new Meteorus monster or something, which is actually really nice. Miz being at 1 is kind of an inconvenient, but whatever, I think we can live with that. And Dinosaurs are also much cheaper than they used to be because of the new reprints from the new set. In the number 9 spot is Drytron, and I don't have to say much about it. I don't really know the deck that well, so it might actually be higher on the list, but at the same time, I do know that people are respecting Drytron less and less, which is actually good for Drytron players. I know for a fact that Droll was really good against Drytron, and, you know, people obviously played Droll and Logbird last format because it was good against Super Heavy Samurai, so Drytron unfortunately suffered from the collateral damage. But if people start dropping Droll from their main deck because people are no longer playing Super Heavy Samurai, maybe Drytron is gonna be better. And so number 8 is a tie between a bunch of decks that share something in common, and that's the fact that they all play trap cards. In theory, I'm especially talking about Eldritch right here, but I'm also talking about Dinomorphia and potentially Altergeist with a new Duelist Nexus support. These decks always find a way to re-emerge in the metagame because they're always played in formats where people play a bunch of hand traps that do nothing against them. Congratulations on drawing Ogre, Droll, and Nibiru against Eldritch. Must not be nice. But yeah, trap decks are not really worth much money at the moment, except for Labyrinth, because everybody's trying to build that deck. Okay, so number 7 is Marincess, which, I'm gonna be honest, I actually consider is a worse math mech. It is a one-card combo deck, meaning that it is very proficient at playing a bunch of hand traps, and that's always a good thing. The issue is, unlike math mech, it's actually way worse at OTKing, and you have to do a lot of things in order to not end on that much. So just like Salamandrate, when you get Nibiru'd, you cry very often. And yeah, speaking of Salamandrate, I guess that deck is also relatively decent, but I'm not really gonna bother including it here because they're all kind of the same. The typical end board is Nibiru token, 1 back row, pass turn. Our next up is a fantastic deck, especially when piloted by fantastic players. And I am talking about none other than Plunder freaking Patrol. So I believe the best way to play Plunder Patrol at the moment is as a going second build with pretty much no hand traps but board breakers instead and the Brave token engine. It's really consistent, it can easily kill your opponent, and it can break gigantic boards. And it's not like it sucked going first either, because you can still put up some interruptions if you're forced to go first, especially post game 1, when you start swapping all of your going second cards for floodgates and hand traps. If you enjoy outplaying your opponents and eating 5 negates for breakfast, this deck is definitely for you. And the Plunder Patrol core is relatively cheap, so you only really have to spend your money on staples like hand traps and board breakers, which I think is fine. Alright, so next up is Tenyi Sword Soul, an option that I will always recommend because of how, you know, flexible it is in any format. Regardless of the format that we're in, Tenyi Sword Soul can always adapt itself just by playing different hand traps and also different board breakers. And it's just as good going second as going first, so in the past we have actually seen going second builds of Tenyi Sword Soul, and they were putting in that work. I will have to say though, it is a very fair and safe deck to play, so you kind of have to compensate by playing more unfair and risky cards. And I want to say this is usually where your deck building skills shine because you really have to figure out like a perfect recipe for this strategy. In the number 4 spot is Draco Slayer, and again, I'm a huge fan of this deck. It shouldn't be too expensive because only Draco Slayer players need the Draco Slayer cards. And you can also search Secret Village of the Spellcasters in this deck in like 2 seconds, which is actually really broken against most decks this format. I will have to be honest though, I do believe that it suffers really hard in like an anti-spell heavy format, which I want to say this one might end up being one. And I'm saying this because Despia is going to be a really good deck, and anti-spell Fragrance is really good against Despia, so that kind of sucks. But again, it's very good going first and second, and you know, pretty difficult to pilot correctly. Alright, in the number 3 position is Flunderies, a deck that only got nerfed by banning 1 single card from it. But to be fair, even without the Windbear statue, the deck can still be really annoying, especially if people are main decking Harpy's Featherstorm. And some other players are also main decking other cards like Fossil Dyna or Spell Canceller because M-Pen does give them an extra normal summon at the end of their combo. The deck is now very technical, unlike back in the days, and you actually have to think, you know, several steps ahead of your opponent. Oh, and Shifter's still really annoying, so it's a damn good thing you can abuse it. And finally, for the most part, it's not a really expensive deck. In the number 2 position is a very interesting deck that didn't really see much play before and only started seeing play recently because it actually needed some more support that we got in Cyberstorm Access. And I'm actually talking about Punk Gold Pride, a very interesting hybrid strategy. The Punks and the Gold Pride were actually destined to be together because both actually synergize off of each other because, you know, you're paying life points with a Punk, and the Gold Pride monsters are much better when you have less life points than your opponent. And both of them can fusion, synchro, exceed, and link summon, so it's really nice for technical players. I'm a huge fan of really intricate strategies that force the player to kind of think a lot in order to have optimal results and, you know, force you to actually take deck building a little more seriously. And I'm pretty sure it's also very cheap at the moment because nobody's really playing the Punk cards or the Gold Pride cards. And last but obviously not least, in the number 1 position is Recast and Avalon, a deck that actually got better indirectly because of the ban of Diablosis. You know, the deck used to play a bunch of important 1-ofs and 2-ofs, and when you got your cards banished off of Rizart and Diablosis, it was really freaking annoying. But now that Kashtira is kind of somewhat out of the picture, you no longer really have to care too much about that. The strategy revolves around Rika Konkon, which is a really broken field spell that periodically gives you advantage on top of having like a Lair of Darkness-esque effect. It's a combo deck that can adapt itself to like a mid-range or even control kind of playstyle. It can also play Rivalry of Warlords really well because all your monsters are plants, and that's actually really nasty against Despia. I'm not 100% sure about the price of the deck, but I'm pretty sure it shouldn't be too expensive because a lot of players actually stopped playing the deck completely. Overall, any deck that I mentioned in this video is pretty good, so you don't have to stress too much, just play whatever makes you happy. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also let me know your favorite deck of this format, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Peace.